Hey there, everyone. Meteorologist Ryan Weekman back here with our long-awaited re-debut of our Sunday night weather hangouts. It's been a little while. Thank you very much for joining us. For those of you that got accustomed to watching our Sunday night weather hangouts, welcome back. For those of you that are new, good to see you. Yeah, this is something that we'll do pretty much every Sunday night that I'm available at 8:30. It's a chance for me to say the things that I don't have time to say on air. We only get about 2 to 3 minutes to give a weathercast, so it's a chance to nerd out. It's a chance to talk about all things weather, and perhaps most importantly, you guys get to directly ask the question. So no matter how you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube, you can ask questions on there. If you're watching through the Google Plus app, very easy to ask questions just below the video here. And of course, I sent things out on Facebook and Twitter several hours ago through the day today, giving you a chance to ask some questions. I've got a few of those here that I will answer for you here. A lot of it dealing with the cold and the snow that's on the way. And for those of you that are watching through the YouTube, through the blog, certainly appreciate you guys being there. I know a lot of folks, it is a Sunday night. There's a lot of things to do. I understand that. And this will get replayed quite a few times. So you're not watching live, but if you head over to Google Plus, you can actually interact live over there and ask the questions as well. And it's a good chance to follow up on some of the other things that we're doing off air. So thank you guys very much again for joining us. It's been about I want to say 2 months now or so since we've done our last Sunday night weather hangout. So it's great to be back here, and this is a lot of fun. Again, if this is your first time watching, we get to really divulge a lot of the behind-the-scenes weather geekiness information and get into some stuff that we don't usually get into. And one of the cool things that we get to do here, first of all, if you've never seen the studio, this is it. This is our weather set back here. See, so first of all, you get a behind-the-scenes look. Very cool here. We have lots of computers. The best feature here is the coffee pot. Chris Vickers uses it every weekday morning. But that's pretty much it. That's the weather center back here. We have a lot of computers. I'll show you to the side here. You can see where our green screen is, where the studio set is. Of course, nothing's really lit up right now because we're not doing anything on the air. Our next show that we'll be taping will be our Fox show coming up at 10 o'clock, and so we'll be geared up for that. But 8:30 is a convenient time for us to nerd out for a few minutes and get to have some fun. So you get to see the weather set back here. And now I'm going to show you what's on my computer screen right here, and we'll get into the forecast inside of this and then get to some of your questions that you guys submitted for us here. So check this out. With a snap of a finger, you guys get to see what's on my computer screen for you here. And if you guys haven't checked this out, this is a computer software program called SIMU AWIPS. It's very simple. It's very free. You don't have to be a meteorologist or anything to sign up for this. It's just simuawips.com. But you can, it's a cool interface to check out all sorts of weather things that are happening. And right now, I pretty much always start these weather chats off with what's going on the water vapor imagery. And all this is satellite-derived information that shows the water content through the atmosphere. And also it shows the atmospheric motions that are going on for us here. So the big thing that you'll notice, this big spotch of blue across the Rocky Mountains and into the central United States. And that is our next system that's starting to push our way. Notice a piece of energy dropping out of Seattle, this upper level low for us here. This will be our first initial surge of cold air that arrives here locally Tuesday night and into Wednesday, and that's the long-awaited thing we've been talking about. I've been mentioning it going all the way back to, let's say, late October, that this sort of cold air was headed our way. So it's something that we've been tracking for several weeks now, and it looks like it's about 2 days away. But before it gets here, things are actually going to spike as far as temperatures go, near 60 degrees tomorrow and into Tuesday. So we're trying to keep a positive spin on the forecast. After we get past Tuesday night, though, things will get a lot chillier for us here. Give you a better look at that system. There's that snow and rain across parts of Montana up into the Dakotas for us. Very impressive snowfall totals expected across Minnesota and Wisconsin. UP of Michigan, upwards of 3 feet in spots. Not out of the question. So keep that in mind. 3 feet of snow in the favorable lake effect areas in the UP of Michigan, looking very possible for us. So that's what's going on as far as the snow goes. Locally, no big snow really expected for us, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's some of the questions that, of course, have been asked. When are we expecting a big snowfall? And we'll talk about that. But the answer short term is it's not coming in the next few days for us, okay? Here's the bigger set of things. When you were in grade school, you were probably taught the warm, the cold air colliding. That's what causes a lot of our air mass, or that's what causes a lot of our storm systems. And you're exactly right. So one of the key things that we can look at a lot of times is where the location of the jet stream is to tell us large scale whether things are going to be above average or below average moving forward. So I'm going to flip things back to the screen here in just a minute, and I want you to notice how we go from the jet stream being north of us right now to later in the week. It slides south of the area, and that's going to put us in a favorable spot for that big cool down that we are expecting. And it's pretty easy as you look at where the jet stream is located right now. And I'm going to put it into motion, and again, watch how. Let me do this better for you. That was terrible. Let's do it again. There you go. Jet stream is north of us here across the Great Lakes in the upper Central Plains. Here we are in Ohio down here if you can't see us. So as we go over the next few days, you notice the jet stream actually lifts north, and so that's why we're expecting that warm up Monday into Tuesday. But here comes that piece of energy. Tuesday night into Wednesday. Watch how that jet stream really starts to dip further to the south of us, and it gets all the way down into Oklahoma and the deep south. And look at that as we head into the weekend, how far south that jet stream has really moved from north of us in the northern Great Lakes all the way into the southeastern United States. So it's going to make a big jump, and that's a telltale sign that things are really going to cool down for us. Of course, we could come up with the cool, catchy words, the polar vortex. While that indirectly will cool us down, the polar vortex is not coming overhead of the Great Lakes. It's staying up north of the Hudson Bay, believe it or not. So it's some 1,000 to 2,000 miles north of us. It's not coming for us this time, but indirectly we will be affected by the polar vortex for us. Some of those cool words that the national media gets to use. We'll just stick to some facts here, tell you what we're expecting over the next few days. But here's something interesting that's going on that you may have heard about as well. I'm taking you to a different view, a different map for us here. This is actually the Gulf of Alaska, and to give you a sense, Alaska is pretty much smack dab in the middle of your screen right here. And you see this big swirling mass here. This is the satellite image of what was if you want to call it Superstorm Nuri. And this is part of what's causing the big fluctuations in temperatures that we're expecting over the United States the next few days. As that big storm developed in the Gulf of Alaska, it's one of many moving parts that affected our weather or will affect our weather. What happened is, as essentially think about the atmosphere as waves, okay? So as the storm developed in the Gulf of Alaska or enhanced in the Gulf of Alaska, it essentially pushed down the air there in the Gulf of Alaska. Well, if something gets pushed down, think about it if you have a pool, okay? If you tried to push that water down, what would happen? Well, you go over here and the water rises, doesn't it? Well, this is basically California, the West Coast. The air is rising there. They have a ridge of high pressure in place. And remember, we're talking about wave motion. So it's down, that's where the big storm is. Up, that's California. And you've been to Cedar Point before, haven't you? You know what goes up. It's got to come back down. And with that ridge locked in place, that high pressure locked in place over California and the West Coast, what's going to happen is all of that cold air bottled up north in the North Pole and Alaska and, well, I shouldn't say Alaska, but the interior of Canada and even Siberia is going to come spilling down the backside of that high pressure, and it's headed our way. And that high pressure over the western U.S. isn't in a big push. It's not in a big hurry to move. So that's what we're expecting. Once this cold pattern sets in, it's here for at least a week, 2 weeks. Longer than that does look very possible for us as we go long term. Here's another way to look at it here. I'll show you the screen. Again, there you can see the swirling mass on the north side. That's on the top side of the graphic that's moving. See that swirl? That's Nuri, or what's left of Nuri in the Gulf of Alaska out there for you. Here's a different view for you here. And what we're looking at, I guess I should sum this up because, again, we haven't done this in a long time. The graphic I'm going to show you right here basically shows the heights of the atmosphere about halfway through the atmosphere. So if you think the atmosphere is about this thick, if you were to talk about the scale, we're looking at about a midway slice right on through the atmosphere, okay? And basically, the colder the colors that you're going to see, so like the blues, the purples, that means the atmosphere is lower, okay? So it's colder. Those are the things that you want to watch for. And when you see the redder colors, the oranges, the yellows, that means the atmosphere is higher. Roughly, it's generally warmer in those spots. It's not a perfect rule, but for our purpose, it works pretty well. So watch what happens here. See this big purple area? That's part of the polar vortex at north into Canada. Notice it never drops fully south. But what happens is we get these lobes of lower pressure that come overhead in the Great Lakes. And we get one after another, lots of them sliding south into the Great Lakes, okay? So it's very easy to see that cold air is starting, north, and watch how it slides down. Very easy to see, I hope, for you guys. But I want to stop it right here for you. And I want you to notice on the left side of your screen, there's the blue. That's Nuri. Remember that water that's being pushed down in the pool? Then in between, the technical jargon there, that's the upward motion that's going on in the atmosphere. So you have the downward motion, again, of Nuri. You have the upward motion of the high pressure on the west coast, and then the downward motion, the cool motion that's happening right overhead for us. And basically, the way that things are set up for us as we go a week and a half, 2 weeks in advance, it's the perfect setup for us to get cross-polar air masses to come really our way for us. And this is a very interesting setup for us. This is something that we can see a lot of times later in the season, talking January and February. But the air that we're going to be looking at coming our way in a week and a half, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks down the road, it's basically going to be coming from Siberia. And just the word Siberia, the place Siberia, it sounds cold. It is cold. And so the setup, it's going basically the air from Siberia and Russia going over the North Pole. And then instead of just kind of hanging out in the North Pole there, it basically has a fast track to head south and right towards the United States. And that's why there's going to be the big cool down for us and why we're expecting it to last for a long time. And check this out. One thing that you can notice is when you have cold air this early in the year, a lot of times it gets modified. Like it's very cold up north in the higher latitudes towards the North Pole, but as it heads south, it kind of warms up a little bit. It loses a lot of its punch. But here's something to consider. October has the third highest snow cover percentage over the northern hemisphere of the last I want to say 40 or 50 years. I'll have to look at the exact figure, but it's a couple decades old. And so there's a lot of snow on the ground where this air is coming from and where it's going to traverse. So it doesn't have a big opportunity to cool down before it gets here. And here's what I'm talking about. This is taken from Rutgers. They do this. But you're looking at the northern hemisphere. To give you some scale, the bottom part of the map, that's the United States. The northern part of the map, that's China and Russia. And so right smack dab in the middle of that map, between the orange blobs, that would basically be the North Pole. And so when our air comes from Siberia, where that upper orange blob is, it comes across the North Pole, very cold, of course. And as it slides down North America, look how much snow there is across Canada. There's a lot of chilly air there already in place. And so the air doesn't have a big opportunity to cool down as it slides down Canada and heads our way. So we're not expecting a big modification in temperatures, and that's why things do look pretty chilly for us long term. So how cold are things looking? Now, let's put this into context. If we were looking at this type of setup in January or February, it would be very similar to what we saw last year in January or February. Remember how cold that was? The big thing is, although there's snow across Canada and Siberia, there's really no snow in the Great Lakes. And the Great Lakes water temperatures are still relatively warm. They will take a big hit from this cold punch the next 2 to 3 weeks. In fact, I'm thinking it's very possible we see ice on Lake Erie before or near Thanksgiving. So keep that in mind, okay? When we're talking about the Great Lakes, the water temperatures by and large are still in the 40s and 50s. And so it's going to take several days or weeks of this really cold air to modify them. So we're not talking about temperatures as cold as what we could see in January and February, but by November standards, it's going to be very chilly out there for us. Take a look at this map that's put out by the Storm Prediction Center. I'm so used to doing these weather chats from the summer where we're talking about severe storms. This is from the Climate Prediction Center, and this just is a good graphic. It's generally what we're looking at the next 6 to 10 days. What's the temperature outlook? And anywhere that you see in blue or purple there, that's the likelihood that the temperature is going to be below average. okay? That is a large portion of the U.S. Take a look at this map. This is 8 to 14 days in advance, and you see smack dab right over the Great Lakes. That's where we have the largest probability of temperatures staying below average 2 weeks out for us. So this isn't something where we're talking about a cold shot of air for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. This looks like a 1 to 2 to 3 weeks. Once you really start getting out there, it gets hard to see exactly what's going to happen with the atmosphere. But this isn't a short-term thing. This will be sticking around very possibly Thanksgiving and beyond. So if you have family coming over, already making those holiday plans for Thanksgiving, it's very likely at this point that things are going to be very chilly across the local area, even that far out for us. So just to give you an idea for this week, let's just focus on what's at hand for us again. Before we get to that big cool down, things do look nice for us. Look at Monday and Tuesday, temperatures in the 70s for us. We've got that cold front, though, Tuesday may bring some rainfall with it. It's not going to be heavy rainfall. We're not expecting any severe weather with it. But keep in mind, it is going to definitely cool down temperatures. Tuesday and Wednesday, the high temperature drops over 20 degrees. A few snow showers do look possible as we get Thursday into Friday. That's actually lake effect snow from Lake Michigan. Otherwise, it looks like temperatures will stay relatively cold Saturday into Sunday. No big snowfall expected for us as we get into the next 7 days. So if that's what you came to find out, the answer is the next few days, no snow. You're not going to need the shovel or anything like that. But here's the possibility. If we were talking about cold weather moving in, and snow. If you really want to see some snow, when's the first chance we could see some accumulating snow? This is what Kyle asked. And again, you guys get the opportunity. You can ask the questions. When's the chance for our first big snow? If we were to look at that, Kyle, it's very difficult to say. And I'm hesitant. I want to put something out there, okay? I'm not saying this is when it's going to happen, but the ingredients are coming together for the first possible East Coast snow early next week, talking maybe Monday. Whether that's east or west of the Appalachian Mountains is incredibly difficult to predict at this point, and I would lean towards it being east of the Appalachian Mountains and away from our local area. Here's the reason why I say this. Because of how far intruding that cold air is going to be, it's going to push a lot of the mechanisms that help develop systems further to the south. And when you get that happening, a lot of times those storm systems form in the Gulf of Mexico or right on the Gulf Coast there, and they kind of ride up the East Coast, and they play the boundary, which is the warm Gulf Coast waters and the cold Arctic air, and it kind of rides it to the east of us. So that's something that we're going to watch out for. It's possible from some accumulating snow next week. One thing looks very possible for us is, well, you saw the 7-day forecast right there, and it looks pretty chilly as we go later this week into the weekend. Next week has a very strong possibility of being even colder for us for a couple of reasons. One, we may have a little bit of snow on the ground. It's possible. Lake temperatures are going to be colder out there for us. And the pattern is really favorable for it. If you already have cold air in place, all it takes is another shot of colder air, and it kind of ups the ante, so to speak, as far as how chilly things look. So, Kyle, if to answer your question is, it's still, there's nothing obvious out there that's ringing alarm bells back here to say that's going to be our first snow, that's going to be it, be ready. But there are some ingredients that it's possible early next week, something that we need to be at least mindful of. But at this point, I'm not over the chance of snow, so to speak. So I'm playing with you guys over here, but I got my computers set up over here, and I got to check this because I asked folks, I gave them a chance on Facebook and Twitter to vent their questions. So I just want to see if anybody has asked any questions over there. If you're watching this on Google Plus Live right now, go ahead and ask a question, and I can see them real time, and I'll go ahead and answer them. So if you're watching this on Google Plus, if you're watching this on the Storm Track Weather blog, look up, and there's a link to that Google Plus thing, and I can see it. I've got a little sidebar right here. You can't see it, but it's on my computer screen right here. And if you ask a question, I can get to that right away. So let me head over here real quick and just see what kind of questions that we have from folks over here. Looks like the main question we have is, how cold are things really going to be and snow. That's pretty much the gist of the question. So that's what we're looking at. Again, we'll watch for some lake effect snow with the colder air, maybe Thursday or early Friday, especially Williams, Hillsdale County is where we may see that. But as of right now here in Toledo, we're not ringing any alarm bells or anything like that as far as big time snow chances for us. Uh-oh. See what's going on? They're starting to turn on the lights for it. It either means I looked really bad and so they had to turn on the lights, or it means the professionals are getting ready to come in. Tim Miller, he's got to shoot his stuff over there. That's the anchor desk over there. That's a good sign, though, that I should probably sign off for the night. It feels great getting back doing these Sunday night weather hangouts. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully we can continue to be interactive over the next few weeks and into the winter. If there ever is a big winter storm heading our way, we'll do more of these Google Plus Hangouts, and you guys can ask your questions. I'll try to get you the answers, but hopefully you enjoyed this. Again, it's a great opportunity just to kind of nerd out and have some fun. You guys can hopefully join us tonight. The newest weather models are coming in right now. Since I'm hanging out with you, haven't gotten a chance to look at them the last few minutes, but I'll give you the very latest forecast coming up tonight at 10. I may even up those temperatures Monday and Tuesday a little bit. And they'll be very important to see what things look like into next week. So I'll see you guys at 10 over on Fox, and I'll see you over at 11 on WTOL. I'm excited because last night we went on after midnight. Tonight we go on right at 11 o'clock on WTOL News at 11. So thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you over on Facebook and Twitter. Take care.